In Lagos, they have a name for money that comes too fast, slippery wealth. The big girls of Victoria Island went from pure water sachets to penthouse views in weeks, but if you watch closely, you'll notice they move slower now, their necks stiff, their skin always glistening even in air-conditioned rooms. We meet Ifunanya and Zainab under the murderous Lagos sun, hawking pure water in River Bay traffic, their phones overheating as they scroll through Kayameka Okoma's Instagram. Kayameka, former hawker turned skincare empress, poses in silk against marble, her caption speaking of organic glow and natural radiance. The girls count coins that won't cover tomorrow's rent. That night, desperation drives them to Kayameka's Victoria Island gate. The woman who answers isn't the glowing goddess of Instagram. She's pale, moves in careful increments, and her eyes have a filmy quality, like something preserved in formaldehyde. But when Kayameka opens the wooden box and the ancient snail inside begins to pulse with an oily, hypnotic sheen, Ifunanya ignores the wrongness. She ignores the way Kayameka's hands tremble. She ignores the faint trail of mucus on the Italian tiles. Because Kayameka is holding a phone showing a bank transfer, 5 million Nigerian nairas. And all it cost was one lick. Ifunanya's feet were bleeding again. The Chinese slippers had given up 2 weeks ago, but new ones cost 500 Nigerian nairas, money that could buy 3 days of Gary. She shifted the basin of pure water sachets on her head and watched Zainab negotiating with a Danfo driver who kept waving her away. 20 naira. Just 20. Zainab's voice cracked under the heat. He bought nothing. They retreated to the gutter shade, counting the day's earnings. 1,200 Nigerian nairas between them. Rent was 20,000 Nigerian nairas, due tomorrow. Ifunanya's mother needed medication. Zainab's younger siblings needed school fees. Check Kayameka's page, Zainab whispered, pulling out her cracked phone. They shouldn't. It only made the heat hotter, the hunger sharper. But they opened Instagram anyway. Kayameka Okoma. 2.3 million followers. Former pure water girl, now skincare goddess. Her latest post showed her draped in gold silk, champagne glass raised against floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lagoon. Caption, glow from within, Queens. All natural. All organic. The comments were worship. The likes were a lottery win. She was just like us, Ifunanya said quietly. 2 years ago, she was selling water on this same road. Zainab's jaw tightened. Then she figured something out. That night, they made the decision that would cost them everything. They found Kayameka's address through a desperate scroll of tagged locations and old interviews. Victoria Island. Banana Island Road. The estate security nearly turned them away, but Ifunanya lied about a delivery. They walked past mansions that looked like embassies until they found the gate with the gold O crest. Ifunanya pressed the buzzer. Her heart hammered. The gate opened. Kayameka stood in the doorway, but she looked nothing like her photos. Her skin had a grayish undertone, sleek with something that wasn't sweat. She moved slowly, deliberately, like someone afraid of shattering. We don't want trouble, Ifunanya started. We just. I know what you want. Kayameka's voice was flat, emotionless. You want what I have. Zainab straightened. We are not begging. We want to work. Partner with you. Anything. Kayameka stared at them for a long moment. Then she smiled, and it was the wrongest thing Ifunanya had ever seen, too slow, too wide, like her face was learning the expression for the first time. Come inside. The penthouse was freezing. Italian marble. Danish furniture. But there was something off. No plants. No sunlight. Heavy curtains blocked every window. And beneath the expensive perfume, there was another smell, wet, organic, like the lagoon at low tide. You think I earned this? Kayameka gestured at the luxury surrounding them. You think I built a brand? Manifested abundance. She laughed, a hollow sound. I made a trade. She led them to the bedroom and knelt beside the bed. From underneath, she pulled a wooden box. Intricate carvings covered its surface, spirals and symbols that had to look at directly. Inside this box, Kayameka said, is the only business partner you'll ever need. She opened it. The snail was small, almost beautiful. Its shell shimmered with colors that shouldn't exist, oil-slick purples and greens that seemed to pulse with their own light. But its body was wrong. Too pale. Too translucent. And as Ifunanya watched, she swore she saw something moving beneath its flesh, like a second creature living inside the first. This is insane, Zainab breathed. But she didn't look away. The journey to the Delta took 6 hours in Kayameka's air-conditioned Lexus. She didn't speak the entire drive, just stared out the window with those filmy eyes. Ifunanya watched the city give way to swamp, modernity surrendering to mangroves and mist. The native doctor's compound sat on stilts above Blackwater. He was ancient, his eyes completely white, no pupils at all. He smiled when he saw Kayameka. You brought fresh ones, he said in Ijaw, then switched to English. Good. You're running out of time. Kayameka's hand went to her neck. I know. The shrine room was dim, lit by clay lamps that burned with blue flame. Along the walls sat dozens of wooden boxes, each one carved with the same spiraling symbols. From inside them came a wet, rhythmic sound. Breathing. This is what you need to understand, the doctor said, circling Ifunanya and Zainab like a buyer examining livestock. The snails are not pets. They are not tools. They are partners in a very specific transaction. He opened a box and lifted out a snail identical to Kayameka's. They come from the deep places. The old places beneath the water where the gods stopped paying attention. They give you what humans crave most, power over other humans. Men will empty their accounts for you. Doors will open. Impossible becomes inevitable. What's the catch? Ifunanya's voice was barely a whisper. The doctor's white eyes fixed on her. The snails must be fed every 3 days. Fresh bitter leaves, soaked in your own blood. You must keep them in darkness, away from sunlight. And you must lick them once per week to maintain the bond. That's it. Zainab asked. That's the simple part, the doctor said. The hard part is understanding what bond means. The snails don't give you power. They emit a pheromone that makes humans docile, suggestible, desperate to please you. But the pheromone comes from inside your own body. The snail changes you. Slowly. Permanently. Kayameka spoke up, her voice shaking. They are incubating. Yes. The doctor placed 2 boxes before the girls. They choose you as their home. And when they are done growing, when they've fed enough on your life force, they emerge. As what? Ifunanya asked. The doctor smiled. You'll see. Back at Kayameka's penthouse, Ifunanya and Zainab sat on opposite sides of the living room, each holding a wooden box. The snails paused in rhythm, like twin hearts. I'll do it first, Zainab said, and there was something in her voice Ifunanya had never heard before. Hunger. Zainab opened her box and lifted the snail. Its body extended, antenna reaching toward her face. She closed her eyes and extended her tongue. The sound of contact made Ifunanya's stomach turn. Zainab gagged immediately. Oh God, oh God. Don't stop, Kayameka commanded. Not until it pulls away on its own. Zainab's face contorted, tears streaming, but she held the snail to her mouth. 20 seconds. 30. Finally, the creature retracted. Zainab dropped it back in the box and vomited into a crystal bowl Kayameka had placed nearby. The vomit was wrong, tinged with something metallic and dark. It tastes like death, Zainab gasped. Like rot and copper and... Her phone rang. She stared at it, confused. Unknown number. She answered. Miss Zainab. A man's voice, smooth, powerful. My name is Senator Bello. I saw you at the Victoria Island Market last week. I cannot stop thinking about you. I'd like to offer you a position as my personal consultant. The compensation is 500,000 Nigerian Nairas monthly, plus accommodation. When can you start? Zainab's hand trembled. Tomorrow. Perfect. I have my driver collect you at noon. I'll also be transferring 2 million Nigerian nairas to your account tonight. For wardrobe and preparation. The call ended. Zainab looked at Ifunanya, her eyes wide with disbelief and terror and greed. Your turn, she whispered. 3 months later, Ifunanya and Zainab lived in a Lekki penthouse that made Kayamaka's place look modest. They hadn't sold pure water in 94 days. They hadn't felt the sun in 71. The money came in waves, impossible amounts from men they barely remembered meeting. A oil executive transferred 15 million Nigerian nairas after a 50-minute coffee. A banker bought Zainab a Range Rover after she smiled at him in a hotel lobby. Politicians, businessmen, foreign investors, they all found reasons to give the girls everything. But something was changing. Ifunanya noticed it first in Zainab. Her friend moved differently now, slower, more calculated. Her neck had stiffened, making her turn her whole body instead of just her head. And her eyes. God, her eyes had that same filmy quality Kayamaka's had developed. We need to talk about the rules, Ifunanya said one morning, watching Zainab feed her snail the blood-soaked bitter leaves. What about them? Zainab's voice was flat, disinterested. You're changing. We both are. And Kayamaka, have you noticed she hasn't called in weeks? Why would she? We don't need her anymore. Zainab closed her wooden box with a wet snap. We have everything now. But at what cost? Zainab turned, her whole body, that stiff mechanical rotation, and smiled. You sound ungrateful. Remember the heat. Remember begging for 20 naira. This is paradise, Ifunanya. Don't ruin it by thinking too much. That night, a 17-year-old influencer came to their building, begging for their secret. Zainab met her at the door. Please, the girl said. I'll do anything. Just tell me how you did it. Old Zainab would have felt compassion. Old Zainab would have remembered being that desperate girl. New Zainab smiled and closed the door in her face. Pathetic, she muttered, and there was no humanity left in the world. The text from Kayamaka's number came at 3 a.m., don't forget to feed them. Ifunanya tried calling back. The line was disconnected. She and Zainab went to Victoria Island the next morning. The gate code still worked, but the penthouse was different. Dark. The curtains had been torn down, leaving the windows exposed. The furniture was pushed against the walls. And everywhere, on the marble, on the leather sofas, across the silk sheets, were trails of thick, translucent slime. Kayamaka. Ifunanya called out. No answer. They found her phone on the kitchen counter, screen cracked. The last Instagram post was from 2 weeks ago, a close-up selfie that must have used every filter available. But if you looked closely, really looked, you could see it, the way her neck seemed to curl forward, the strange rigidity in her smile, the almost imperceptible wetness coating her skin. The comments were concerned. Queen, are you okay? We miss you. Where have you been? In the bedroom, Kayamaka's wooden box sat open and empty. But the bathroom door was closed. Ifunanya's hand shook as she reached for the handle. Zainab grabbed her wrist. Don't. We have to. No. Zainab's grip was ice cold. We don't. She made her choices. We'll make ours. But Ifunanya pulled free and opened the door anyway. The bathroom was empty. Completely empty. No Kayamaka. Nobody. No sign of violence. Just a trail of slime leading from the toilet to the window, which stood open, 12 stories above the Lagos streets. And on the mirror, written in something thick and mucus-like. Keep them fed. Dubai was a mistake. The trip came together fast. A Lebanese businessman invited Zainab to his luxury hotel for a consultation. He flew both girls first class, put them in adjoining suites, and showered them with gifts. Diamonds. Designer clothes. A promise of 30 million Nigerian nairas for a single weekend. But they forgot the boxes. It's only 3 days, Zainab had said, her voice already taking on that wet, rasping quality. They'll be fine. Day one in Dubai was champagne and infinity pools and men who looked at them like they were goddesses. Day two was shopping malls the size of villages and restaurants where a single meal cost more than a year of selling pure water. By day three, Ifunanya's skin felt wrong, too tight, too cold, like it belonged to someone else. "We need to go back," she said, watching the sunset over the Arabian Gulf. It hurt her eyes now. All light did. "One more night," Zainab insisted. She was standing by the window, her body completely still, her neck curved forward at an angle that should have been painful. "Zainab. Look at yourself." "I am looking." Zainab's reflection in the glass was wrong. Her eyes caught the light like an animal's, throwing back a greenish shine. "I look rich. I look powerful. I look like everything we were supposed to be." That night, Ifunanya woke to find Zainab's suite empty. She found her friend on the hotel roof, naked, her skin sleek with moisture despite the desert heat. Zainab was moving in slow circles, her head tilted back, making a sound Ifunanya had never heard from a human throat, a wet, clicking rasp. "We are going home," Ifunanya said. "Now." Maybe you felt it too, that moment when you realize you've gone too far, when the point of no return is already behind you, and all you can do is keep moving forward into the dark. Sometimes I wonder if we'd all make different choices if we knew what was waiting at the end of our desires. They returned to Lagos at dawn. The penthouse felt different, warmer, humid, like something living had been breathing in the sealed space. Ifunanya ran to her bedroom, to the wooden box hidden beneath designer shoes. It was open. Empty. "No, no, no," she tore through the closet, looked under the bed, checked the bathroom. Nothing. Zainab's scream confirmed what Ifunanya already knew. Both snails were gone. "They can't survive outside the boxes," Zainab said, but there was a tremor in her voice now, the first real emotion Ifunanya had heard from her in weeks. "The doctor said they need darkness, They are not outside." Ifunanya felt it, deep in her bones. "They are inside." Zainab touched her stomach, her face going pale. "That's not possible." But it was already happening. Zainab's neck stiffened completely, her head tilting forward and to the right in a way that defied human anatomy. She tried to speak, but what came out wasn't words. It was that wet, rasping click, the same sound she'd made on the Dubai rooftop. "Zainab." Ifunanya grabbed her friend's shoulders. Zainab's eyes rolled up, showing only whites. Her mouth opened, and inside, instead of a human tongue, Ifunanya saw something pale and translucent, something that pulsed with its own sickening rhythm. Zainab tried to scream, but no sound came. Her vocal cords were gone, dissolved, replaced by whatever was growing inside her throat. Ifunanya felt her own neck begin to stiffen. The transformation had begun. Ifunanya drove them back to the Delta, Zainab curled in the passenger seat, her body contracting into a fetal position she couldn't escape. Every few minutes, Zainab's skin would ripple, something moving beneath it like a wave. The native doctor was waiting. "You forgot to feed them," he said simply. "So they fed on you instead. Fix this." Ifunanya screamed. "There has to be a way to." "There is no fixing." The doctor circled Zainab, who was now completely silent, her eyes migrated to the top of her skull, her body hardening. The contract was clear. Life for power. You gave them life, yours. Now they are taking what they are owed. Zainab's skin had changed texture, becoming rigid, calcified. Her arms pulled tight against her body. Her legs fused together. She was no longer human-shaped but something else, something spiral, something ancient. The money was never real, the doctor continued. The pheromones made men hallucinate. They thought they were in love, thought they were investing in your businesses. But it was just chemical persuasion. The wealth was just the mechanism to keep you alive long enough for the snails to mature. What happens to her? Ifunanya whispered, tears streaming down her face. She becomes what she always was, a host. The snail will emerge, larger than before, ready to find its next partner. And you? He looked at Ifunanya with those white eyes. You're already halfway gone. Ifunanya felt it. Her own skin beginning to harden. Her thoughts slowing, becoming simple, primal. The part of her that was human shrinking into a small, screaming corner of her mind. The last thing she heard was Zainab's shell cracking open, something wet and huge sliding free. Then she ran. Ifunanya made it back to Lekki, but she wasn't really Ifunanya anymore. The thing that entered the penthouse moved on all fours, its neck curved completely forward, its eyes useless now, navigating by scent and vibration. The luxury apartment that once meant everything now meant nothing. She couldn't appreciate the view, couldn't use the furniture, couldn't even remember why she'd wanted any of it. Her skin was hardening into a shell, layer by layer. Her internal organs were simplifying, becoming efficient, cold-blooded. Her thoughts were simple now: darkness, moisture, safety. She crawled into the bathroom, the coolest, darkest space, and crawled into the corner. Her body contracted, pulling tight, her human shape collapsing into something more compact, more protected. On the marble floor, she left trails of thick, opalescent slime. Her phone buzzed somewhere in the penthouse. Instagram notifications. Followers asking where she'd been. Brands wondering if she was still interested in partnerships. Girls in her DMs begging for her secret to success. But the thing in the bathroom couldn't read anymore. Couldn't type. Couldn't remember what any of those symbols meant. Outside, the sun was setting over Lagos. Somewhere in the city, desperate girls were scrolling through social media, looking at impossible lives, making impossible wishes. And in the deep places, in the dark waters where the gods stopped paying attention, the snails were breeding. Always breeding. Always waiting for the next host to find them. The penthouse stayed empty for 3 months before the landlord finally entered. He found the bathroom door sealed shut by some kind of organic residue. When he forced it open, there was nothing inside but a large spiral shell, beautiful and iridescent, sitting in a pool of dried slime. He picked it up, fascinated by its weight, by the way its color seemed to shift in the light. It pulsed once against his palm. And he smiled. In Lagos, they still talk about the big girls of Victoria Island, the ones who disappeared at the height of their success. Some say they ran away with rich men. Others say they were never real to begin with, just digital ghosts, just another Instagram fantasy. But if you walk through certain neighborhoods late at night, if you pay attention to the darkest corners of luxury penthouses and abandoned mansions, you might see them, trails of slime, glistening wetly in the moonlight, leading nowhere and everywhere. And somewhere in the city, a new girl is opening her phone, looking at impossible wealth, making impossible wishes. The snails are always patient. They know someone will always be hungry enough to lick.